Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being patient with me on my month off. I've had a month off. Didn't you notice? Oh, forget it. A few weeks ago I released a video entitled My Top 5 Scariest Hitchhikes or something like that. And that list included Turkish drug barons driving at 145 mile an hour whilst high on coke, ranging all the way to thinking I was going to get my organs harvested by a group of Romany gypsies. Today, I'm going to be going over my top 10 hitchhiking experiences. The best experiences, the most positive, the best ones. Now, some of these clips you will have seen, they will have been on How Not to Travel Europe, for those who've seen that. Some may have featured on that mini Barcelona to Berlin series, which still isn't quite finished actually, and some none of you will have seen, but they're all organic, unplanned hitchhikes that either, I don't know, saved my bacon in a significant way, led to something amazing, or were just completely novel in some sort of way, maybe the mode of transport or the people involved. And luckily for you, every single one of these was filmed in some way or another. So without any further ado, let's get right into them. Number 1, numero uno, nummer zwei, number 10, and it's the two-seater Triumph. Now, some of you may have seen this on a video entitled, I attempted to live off the land for an entire day. It became so much more than a quest for food. So having gone over the Splugen Pass and successfully lived off the land for a day, absolutely ravenous at this point. Night is starting to fall and I'm just walking down a mountain road which wasn't really suitable for walking on, and at this point I really wanted to get to this town, this village of Andir. It was quite important that I got there so that I could find somewhere to camp, really. And literally the first car, because there weren't many cars on this road, the first car that I could hear approaching from behind me, I put my thumb out, and I think this might be the only time, no it's not, but it's one of only 2 times I believe that the first car stopped.
No way.
Not only was it the first car, but it was an extraordinary looking car straight away. A two-seater, really low, very old car.
Wow, what is this car?
English, yeah.
Really? Triumph. Oh, wow.
That's right, it was a Triumph, a British car of all things. 1963 Triumph. The car alone was an experience just to get into and to drive in. Really rickety, really low down, unique engine sound, and we're weaving through Alps, you know. The guy, who was Swiss, didn't speak any English, which was great because I knew more German than he knew English, and it really taught me how powerful those conversations can be and how much they force you to learn. So it was memorable in that sense, but unbeknown to me, I'd left, and some of you will have seen the story on the video. If you want to see the video, it'll be in the description. I'd left my tent poles, the actual structural, bendy poles, in, well, not the back of his car, but kind of on the shelf at the back. And you'll have to watch the video, but basically what ensued was me finally getting into a field to pitch up the tent, realizing that I didn't have the poles, and in that moment the heavens opened. And when I say the heavens, there was one of the blackest clouds I've ever seen above me, and you know what it's like in the Alps, in the mountains, it just opens. So I ended up legging it down to this kids play area, and I ended up sleeping under a picnic bench with cracking thunderous thunder keeping me up pretty much all night. So yeah, a very memorable experience and a positive one. It's only after the hitchhike things started to get shit. There you go, that's number 10, and on to number 9. We are moving on to How Not to Travel Europe, episode 3, and he had to make an appearance, didn't he? It's Super Mario. Super Mario was thusly named for well, not just one reason, but it was one great act of kindness, apart from driving us 3 hours from Milan to Bologna. Yeah, cheers for that. But it was another act of kindness which he really didn't have to do. So Mario dropped me and Greg off in Bologna at the busiest. I mean, he was already going out of his way here because he didn't have to go into the city of Bologna. He wasn't going there. And he dropped us off by the main train station, pulled over, made sure we had everything, or so he thought. Welsh Greg left his 300 or 400 pound, oh God, what are they called? Environmentally friendly smartphones. And he left it in the back of Mario's car. It was only when Mario had pulled off into the bustling chaos of Bologna and out of sight that Greg realised he didn't have his phone. Now, by this point, Mario had gone. We had about 15 minutes to get our train, so we believed. And Greg decided to gamble and wait at that same spot just in case Mario returned, which I thought was I just thought there was no chance. I mean, he's got to find it first, let alone come back to that spot. Meanwhile, I went to buy the tickets, and as many of you will have seen in the series, Greg comes back into Bologna station with a beaming smile on his face, and would you believe it, Mario had presumably driven round the block, got back to that spot, and pulled up again, just on the off chance that Greg had noticed his missing phone. I mean, what a guy. What a guy. That is pure generosity. And he was just a lovely, lovely chap. We had lots in common with him. We talked about hiking. We talked about politics, the mafia. We had engrossing conversations with him. Mario, if you're watching, you make the top 10 quite comfortably. Thank you for coming back for Greg on behalf of Greg. I couldn't give a shit. Number 8, and we're staying with How Not to Travel Europe here. I'm kind of, maybe he's a bit high here. That's right, because I'm kind of bundling two guys in here together because they were both from Portugal. They both came just after one another. They didn't know each other, but they lived in the same area of Switzerland. And it's Philippe and Paolo. Sorry for bundling you guys together, but alone you didn't make the cut. Together you do. Philippe was just this energetic, manic kind of... At first, I guess we didn't really understand him completely, Philippe. But as time went on, he was just hilarious, to be fair. And we didn't spend that long with Philippe. And I think with Philippe, it's what happened after the initial ride. The ride was, we're very grateful for. But Philippe went that extra mile, and he took us to a castle where he thought we could sleep for the night, because we told him we were looking for quirky places. And he said, follow me. I know where you can go. And he took us up this vineyard, all the time swearing profusely in English, needlessly, just for comical effect.
Oh, is that it up there?
That's the motherfucking thing you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the motherfucking thing. Needless, but hilarious to look back on. And all these little things add up for me. And as the magic moment for me was as we were walking up to this castle, which turned out to be a fantastic place to sleep. We slept in a barn on the grounds of the castle, but Philippe, you knew there was something up there, didn't you? Just as you knew that I locked the butler in the freezer on Tomb Raider 2. Just look at this man's passion for this classic PlayStation moment.
Ah, yes, that's the Tomb Raider 2.
Number 2, yeah.
You know the guy who runs, and then you locked him in the fridge, you know?
Yeah.
And the guy, you have the ends out of the fridge, and the fridge explodes, man. It's fucking psychedelic, man.
Oh, I love that. I love you can go anywhere in the world, or at least anywhere in Europe, and you meet people who did the exact same naughty thing. It's fucking Catholic, man. I don't know whether he says that, but that's what it sounds like he said, but it doesn't make any sense. Of all the things it is to lock the butler in the freezer, I don't think it's very Catholic. But anyway, moving on. Philippe, I like a laugh, and he made me laugh. And Paolo, the guy who picked us up before, I mean, he was just the nicest, coolest dude I think we've ever been picked up by. And that's why he's got to make this list in some form or another. He's sharing the spot with Philippe, but Paolo was so cool and so nice, and his van was so cool, that he made us forget about what had come previously.
And she said, do you want to come on the boat with me?
We went
wake surfing.
Have you heard of I'm not the coolest one.
No, you still are though somehow. But
I love that. Classic Greg. You still are though somehow. So there you go. Philippe and Paolo, two Portuguese men living in Switzerland with big hearts. Big hearts, man. At number 7, we go back to my 2016 trip. And this is the most last minute, crucial, stressful scenario where I had to meet this guy who was going to give me a free tour of a canyon, just because I don't even know how this happened, but it's in another video. I'll link that as well in the description. But I'd met some guy and his brother worked in a canyoning thing. I'd met him the night before. I was hungover. I was trying to get back to this town where I'd been the day before, but I'd got the wrong bus and I'd got lost and time was ticking. I had to be there at 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. and I tried to get another bus and it never came. It went straight past me. It didn't stop. And all of a sudden I've got 10 minutes. I've got 10 minutes to get to this town, which is like 3 miles away. And it was ridiculous. So I started hitchhiking and I thought, this is ridiculous. This is a lost cause. But 7th or 8th car, a woman, middle-aged woman. Why the hell should a middle-aged woman pick up a random bloke? You know? But that's how it is in the mountains. People trust each other. She picked me up. She took me there. I was on time.
Danke.
In the end, the bloke wasn't even there, and he rang me, and he was late. But that's beside the point. I didn't know that at the time. At the time, she was a lifesaver. She was lovely. She wished me a great trip, and she was on her way. But there you go, lovely lady. Thank you, whoever you are. No way she's watching this. Number 6, and we remain in 2016 when we had ne'er a trouble in the world, apart from maybe Ebola. When was that? We're further down the line. We're in Germany at this point, and I've just got kicked off a train in Rosenheim. So I'm in the city of Rosenheim, and the plan is for me to meet my mom and brother in Salzburg in the morning. So really I need to get to Salzburg, find somewhere to stay, preferably a hostel, a good night's sleep, meet them in the morning, and I'm going to spend 2 or 3 days with them before they return home and I carry on with my adventure to Berlin. That's the plan. I start walking east from Rosenheim, and I've seen on a map in a petrol station, I've looked at a road map, and I've seen that there's a service station on the Autobahn about, I don't know, 6 or 7 miles away. So that's what I'm aiming for. It doesn't go to plan, and it becomes quite an ordeal. Now I'm going to make a full video on this because I just haven't got time to show you the whole story. But I'm just going to show you a clip 2 or 3 hours after this one was taken.
Oh! No! The mud is so... Oh my god! I think I could sink in this for good. Oh! Oh!
I was such a cretin back then. So yeah, as you can see, it's like a precursor to the Norwegian swamp, isn't it? And it's one of those, what am I doing moments. I then resorted to walking down the motorway, down the side of the Autobahn, which was actually, aside from being dangerous because of lorries and whatnot, was actually riddled with these spiders. And I love spiders. So I went into the fields, and then my boots got filled with slugs somehow.
Oh, fuck. My shoes are full of slugs. And I'm proud of it.
It was then completely dark. Quite soon after the slugs, I was chased by a cow.
Oh, I've just been charged by bulls.
And eventually, by just going back to the Autobahn,
Get in.
I finally arrived at the service station where I saw a car that had broken down, and the two people, the couple, were trying to fix it. And I cunningly, I will admit here, I had ulterior motives here. I'm not afraid to admit. Because by this point, it's like 11 p.m. and I am getting ready to hunker down in the service station at this point. Sleep in the service station and then hope that I get a lift the next morning. So I approached the couple and said, look, is there anything I can do to help? If there's anything you need me to... I'm not very good with cars. In reality, I'm awful with cars, so I was useless. But, it was the gesture. And eventually, after about an hour or so, I heard a small cheer and an engine start. And I thought, oh, good, this is my chance to pounce or congratulate them. Whichever way you look at it. I went over and was like, oh, well done. Like, have you got it going and all this? And they said, where are you going? And I said, oh, Salzburg. And they went, oh, we are going past Salzburg. So if you want to jump in. I was like, oh, thank you so much. Because I think they're looking at me and they're thinking, well, this guy's in a situation as well. And that gesture, I am sure, made all the difference. That empty gesture. Just kidding. I meant it. I'm really good with cars, but you had it covered. Clearly, I didn't want to steal the limelight from the bloke. He was, I thought I'll let him impress his girlfriend. Brownie points. So everyone was happy in the end, and lovely couple from Prague. They were heading to Prague, and they took me to Salzburg, and it was just a lifesaver. I mean, it's high up on this list because of the ordeal that preceded it and the relief that accompanied it.
I made it to Salzburg.
And that's despite me turning up at Salzburg too late to get a room. The hostel was full, which was shit, but I then climbed onto a hill. Begins with K. It's not the one that the castle's on, it's the other side of the river. And I camped up there, and it was one of the best views I've had waking up from my tent in the morning. So, not the most comfortable night's sleep ending, but a more memorable one. A better one, I think. Yeah, a crucial lift. Maybe my most crucial lift. On to the top half, guys, and number 5, back of an ambulance. Now, this will be a very, very quick one because there's hardly any footage of this. We're going back in time here to 2013, where I was 22. I was still mucking about. Me and my good mate Dixon, who was like my best mate from school, do not put us in a lesson together because we will wreak havoc. Anyway, we're going from Munich to Zagreb on our first exploration beyond Britain. We've done the odd hike in Britain, but we're in Europe. We're on the big stage. And we've got to, this is in Salzburg, funnily enough. We're trying to get from Salzburg, and we're trying to get through the Alps, okay? We're heading for Villach in the south of Austria. We're on this big slip road, and after about, 20 minutes of waiting, none other than an ambulance pulls up. There it is. You can see us there approaching the ambulance. We're so excited. We're so excited. You know, it's the story of it. Where is this going to lead us? I mean, a ride in an ambulance? What, are we going to be lying on a bed here? I mean, this is hilarious, you know? And the guy who picked us up, I believe he was called Toby, and he was a lovely guy. It wasn't actually an official paramedic. It was like St. John's ambulance, the equivalent, or the Red Cross. And he was like a volunteer. He did it part-time. You can only imagine what a nice dude he was. And yeah, he took us to a service station about 30 miles into the Alps, you know, kind of 30 miles south of Salzburg. So it wasn't a huge ride. We didn't have to lie on a bed, unfortunately. But that's it. I mean, there's no more to it than that. This has made the cut purely based on the tagline. We hitched a ride in the back of an ambulance. I mean, it's on that. What that led us to also is a factor, because what followed that, the lift that we got after that, I think is going to be number one. It has to be number one. So it's kind of like the whole story of this day. We got a ride in the back of an ambulance, and then we got a ride in, and you'll see in a few minutes' time. Number 4, crazy Ukrainians. The crazy Ukrainians who took me from Barcelona all the way to Nice. Probably one of the longest distances I've ever gone, or at least it felt like it, because it actually took 2 whole days. I've never met 2 guys with such a lust for life, an I don't give a fuck kind of attitude, but not in a really rude way. You know, they were respectful guys. They respected me for some reason, but they just had a real appetite for life. That's all I can say. It was small roads all the way. It was music, classic FM 1 minute, EDM dance bangers the next. We camped. We went swimming in a lake together, and it was a great experience. Even though maybe we didn't have that much in common, but you know, it was a really funny time, and they just didn't care. They pissed where they wanted. They pissed next to the car in McDonald's car park. The standout moment for me, and this happened 3 or 4 times actually, so it's kind of like a bunch of moments, if you'll excuse the pun, but it was stealing grapes.
Grape robbery round 2.
They weren't like the grapes you eat from the supermarket, but hey, they loved it. Mikhail and Vasya, thank you for the memories, man. Thanks for taking me under your wing for 2 whole days. I'll never forget it. And above all, right now, of course, may your country push through and survive this awful ordeal. I'm sure you're there. I did message them. I think they're fine. But obviously it's horrible for them. So, you know, always thinking of you guys if you do happen to be watching.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, cool.
It's just apples. Better than nothing.
But we're on to the top 3 now. And coming in at number 3 was when me and Welsh Greg, hitched a ride on an Austrian Tractor. Do you know what, guys? I'll give you a break from my voice. Let's just play the clip, because I made a short. On the side of the road in Podorf was a series of fruit stalls, which not only offered shade, but bursted with the colours of countless local fruits and vegetables, when the owner of the stall, Stefan, a well-travelled, well-spoken man, took an interest in where we were from and what had brought us here to his table.
I'm actually from Wales. Yeah.
I'm from Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
Stefan then fetched his wife, who had recently lived in Redditch near Birmingham and probably wanted someone she could bond with over its shitness. She then too took an interest in our adventure, especially the concept of using as many different modes of transport as we could find.
Another one we wanted was a tractor.
A tractor,
Like a farmer tractor.
Wait, we have one. Where is it?
Oh my god.
No, there's a
we haven't
beautiful lake just down there.
Okay,
Really?
let's go.
Yeah. We need to pay for the grape.
And the wine.
Yeah, on the house.
On the house. What?
Here's another mode of transport ticked off. It's all good. Oh my god. The ride down to the lake was something I'll never forget. The sun was out, the locals were waving and hollering at us, and we were riding freestyle on a 1961 Austrian-built tractor, thanks to
61.
some more staggeringly lovely people.
I'll be in the same.
Yeah, let's carry on.
What else can you say? Yeah, just so almost stupidly pleasant experience. Like, but that's how it is out there, man. They're so nice to each other and civilized, and we're really losing that, I think, in Western, more consumerist societies and in cities. But anyway, that's for another day. But yeah, there you go. A 1961 tractor, and they're willing to you know, break road laws and put me and Greg on the back with no kind of safety. Obviously, they went really slow, and I'm sure you could probably explain it to the police. They probably know the police. I don't know. But just, my point is, they don't need to do that. We're not paying them. They paid us. We didn't even pay for the wine and the grapes. Oh, it's just ridiculous. There was nothing in it for them other than just to be nice. Can't we all learn something from that? Number 2, and this is the same kind of thing. How Not to Travel Europe, episode 1. The last one was episode 5, by the way, if you want to watch it. This is one of the first lifts me and Greg got on this whole trip. I think it was the second one. Were we in Montreal? I think we were approaching Montreal. And a girl pulls over. I think this was an incredibly quick... Was this first car, Greg? Was it first car? It was literally a minute. Our thumbs were up. And I'm going to play the clip again, guys.
Bonjour. Natalie. A zesty, free-spirited, independent young woman with just enough room in her car to take us boys to Montreux. Then, as we entered the historic streets of Montreux, she pulled this out the bag.
Okay, guys, if we can, I'm gonna try to offer you a ride, okay?
A ride on what?
That's a nice start, right? You started today.
Yeah.
Very good start to the trip.
Very.
Very good start to the trip.
Turns out that as well as being a free thinker, Natalie was an accountant, and one of her clients just so happened to be Water Sports Montreux. Bonjour.
And the long and short of it, folks, is that not only did we get a ride on a boat, which was literally on our checklist of, well, all day we'd been trying to get on a boat, but look at this frigging scenery, by the way. But not only that, we were going wake surfing. You know, I mean, we couldn't stay on the thing for more than 2 seconds, especially me. But water sports for free.
Ah, man.
I mean, that was a hell of a lot better than my effort. But yeah, just, I mean, you just couldn't, how can you predict something like that?
Bye, thank you. Au revoir.
Sick, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about that. The generosity. I mean, I will say that they did want us to put their Instagram on the video, which, did we actually do that? We put Water Sports Montreux on there. Not their Instagram. I think we lost their Instagram. Sorry about that. But I'm sure you'll agree, if you're watching, Natalie and Geordie, that you are legends in almost 1 million people's eyes. So a few Instagram. You've probably moved on to TikTok now, anyway. As we move on to, and by the way, that was nearly #1 spot. I think most of you will probably say, how the hell didn't you put that at #1? But for me, #1 spot has to go to for a couple of reasons, which I'll try and explain to the naysayers. It has to go to the car strapped onto the back of the lorry. From the original hitchhike trip with Dixon from 2013, Munich to Zagreb. And this, I think one of the factors is that it literally came straight after the ambulance. So you got the ambulance and then this. We're in the service station, the Alpine service station, and a few vehicles have come past at this point and we've had no luck.
Prick!
And then suddenly a lorry pulls up. And at this point, we'd written off lorries. They didn't seem to be interested. I don't think they're allowed to do it. But this guy, I think he owned the lorry because there was a car strapped on the back. And he looked down and he was going like this. And we were like, what? We were looking at the cockpit going, in the back, there's no room. What? And then he got out and he physically pointed to the car. He said, in there. And we were like, no way, that's hilarious. It's got to be illegal. I mean, he said, one of the first things he said was, keep down. Policia. And so we clambered in. We clambered in with cars waiting behind us we're blocking the lane to get out of the service station. So he didn't really care. Now, there isn't much footage of this because we didn't have a GoPro. We were just using Dixon's phone. But I do have this to show you.
Just thought I'd explain where we are right now. You might find it quite amusing. We're in a car on the back of a lorry.
And
we've been told to lie down because otherwise we might get arrested.
That in itself is great. That's unique. But I know what some of you are thinking, that shouldn't take top spot. Let me change your mind. Halfway through the trip, it dawned on us, I wonder what's in the CD player. And this is what we found.
We'll see what's on the...
Yeah, mate. Go on.
If he's got a CD. Slovenian man with a kid.
You want to see the bloke?
I mean, that is unbelievable. A Slovenian dad with his son, lovely kind of, beer belly guy, very masculine bloke, lets us go in his car, and Right Said Fred is his CD of choice. But that song in particular is the one that the CD had stopped at. Genuinely. There's no trickery going on there. That's what the dude was listening to. It's just fucking hilarious. 2 hours later, we're in that thing for 2 hours. The Alps, just the biggest mountains in Austria, we're looking up at them because we're lying down. The scenery alone was just awesome. But it's the fact also that we got through the whole Alps. By the time the guy had stopped, you can see here we've stopped and he's going for a piss. We've gone through the Alps, and that's no easy. That was a real question mark. We were like, oh God, mate, we've got to go through the Alps here. Not only did we get through, but we walked down the road into the outskirts of Villach. Just when we thought this day couldn't get any better, ambulance, car strapped on a lorry, Right Said Fred, got through the Alps. We wandered into this. A traditional, hilariously traditional barbecue for locals who lived in this village. The most Austrian thing known to man. Lovely food, which we had to pay for, but no one asked us what the hell we were doing there. Beers, we had about 5 beers. Just thoroughly enjoyed this warm, sultry evening. And just to cap it off, we wandered down to a campsite caravan park and slept on some sun loungers by the pool. And we didn't pay a bean. No one bothered us. That's why this wins. It's just it's On paper, the best day ever. And especially when you're 22 years old, it's your first time in Europe, you're really hungry for adventure. That's why it wins it, guys. It's the story. It's the story that you tell. So that takes the number one spot. Do not fear though, because this list is incomplete. I mean, only in 2 weeks' time do me and Greg fly over to America to go from Boston to Miami. Now, we won't be hitchhiking too much because it is illegal in many states, but we will be hitchhiking when we can. So hopefully we get more of these and less of the scary ones. But yeah, this is by no means the end of my hitchhiking career. And that concludes the end of what is presumably another long video. There are so many things that missed out on this top 10. It should have been a top 15 really. First ever times I hitchhiked, where me and my mates were hiking through Snowdonia or the Lake District. We were being eaten alive by flies. We were like 19 years old, 20 years old. So those are so memorable. There was the one where me and Greg got a ride with two babes to Dijon when we were 25 in a matter of 5 minutes. I have met so many lovely people whilst hitchhiking. 80% of them are really nice people. So, you know, if you're watching and you picked me up one time and you didn't make the cut, you know, I'm sorry, but and thank you. But then on the flip side, be careful. I don't want to encourage anyone to pick anyone up and regret it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all very soon. Keep exploring, and remember, if you're unsure, always pick the option that makes for the better story.